Hey, how you doing? I just want to make this quick little video. I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately because I've been slammed with work. Decided, put up my vigilante justice game up on itch and kind of seeing. I decided I wanted to give it away. I didn't want to. I got tired of working on it and just figured, you know what? Let's just give it to the community. So I have a suggested donation. I think of like $2. But truthfully, if you just get the game and you play it, that's awesome for me. That's all I care about. That you enjoy the game. I It's like 4 in the morning. I started a few months back writing, a game for me. The game I always wanted, the game, I could never find. As most of y'all know, I don't have any friends. Nobody likes me. Nobody ever has. I love gaming. And so, normally when I buy a game that you only need one person to play. I do a lot of co-op games, things like that. Probably Pandemic is one of my favorite games to play by myself, but I do a lot of solo RPGing. I use Oracle and Vigilante Justice. I made that so you could play it solo, and I, you know, use a lot of different oracles. Well, there's always kind of a genre. Like I love the space games, like Star Frontier, things like that. And I always like the science fiction stuff. And even when I was part of a troupe of Dungeons and Dragons people, I could never get them to play nothing else besides Dungeons and Dragons. So I used to buy like every game that came out, and I had all Tunnels and Trolls, you know, Bunnies and Burrows, and Twilight 2000 and Paranoia and Toon. But I had all, but I could never find anybody else to play. Well, I wanted to play like an exploration game. I didn't want a game that was like about combat and uber weapons. I wanted a game that could help me engage my imagination, because as a dungeon master who's run a lot of successful games, I mean, I had a game on Roll20 that I had to quit Roll20 because of it, because I had over 100 different people that were part of that game. And I figured, I wanted a game that was like for me. I've always been into like archaeology, I've always been into science and stuff. And then I was reading this awesome book from like 1962, Ace, Menace of Psyox or Psionics or something like that. And they had this concept, this StarFolk, where humankind has like part of humankind is like evolved in space. You see a lot of things like that, kind of in Expanse, and I loved Expanse. Love Battlestar Galactica, love Star Trek. Wasn't the hugest Star Wars fan, but my buddy Dan, hey Dan, he was. And so I decided I need to build a game that I will enjoy. So that's what I've been doing. I'm just starting play testing of it for myself. I'm going to be putting up those videos. That's what I'm sharing this about as I play and develop the game. And I hope that you enjoy some of that content. And so I'm going to be talking about why I made this choice, why I didn't make that choice. And it's a pretty cool game. I'm calling it StarFolk. It's got you as a character. You're an explorer. You're an advanced human. It's over 10,000 years in the future. And basically, you have a ship, and the ship is a semi organic being on its own. And you have an AI. which that AI is your crew. That's your partner, right? And it makes its own choices and it makes its own decisions and it has its own personality. And then you can build robots and drones and everything in the game. There's no money. We went past who needs money anymore. It's all about resources. So when you find a planet or a world, you explore it, you map it, and it's a journaling game. So you got to document what you found, things like that. And you take the resources. So say if you find ore, those become like metal units that you can use in construction of like stronger hulls and things like that, right? And then you have biological units, which that's what you use to like create medicines and food. And then whatever doesn't fit neatly into those becomes matter units. We dissolve the matter, and the matter is used to create other things. And so basically, you have a replicator, which is kind of like a vat-based system in your ship, and you say, I want to build this, and you research the plans, and you takes that many units, and it takes time. And when that time, which it's not in hours, days, and months anymore, right? We're out in space. We're not flipping around a planet. So time is no longer based on that. It's based on the rhythms of a ship. And so it'll take so many time units. Time units go into cycles. Cycles become rotations, and rotations become eras, depending on what you do. Always something to do on the ship. And you can research to find new recipes and create new different types of drones. And when you start with your ship, your AI, and one survey drone. And the survey drones can map and do different things. And the cool thing about the AI is the AI can inhabit anything. So but it can only do one at a time. So the AI can basically inhabit the mind, the biocore, which is the quantum computer on the ship and most of the devices. It can inhabit that, kind of take it over. So think of like that as like a lesser intellect, whereas the AI is cognizant of what it is, has feelings, has emotions, things like that. The AI is your partner. That's your only friend. You're alone in space and you're exploring. And we communicate throughout an alternate reality universe. So that way, no matter where you are in the solar system, all the information of the StarFolk is kept in that one place. So the AI can access that. The AI can do research. And as you're finding things and discovering planets, you're feeding that back to the rest of your civilization. And so mankind has kind of spread throughout all the known and unknown galaxies, and they're expanding their knowledge and they're expanding their ability. And right now, it doesn't have a combat. I might add a combat because there are going to be times where maybe you need a combat system. But the game has a lot of really good charts and tables. So if you have a space game, even though this is a solo RPG game, there's a lot of charts. Say if you're playing Traveler or something like that, I've got charts that help you create planets, solar systems, cultures, civilizations, ruins, so there's a lot of different charts in there, and it has its own simplified oracle system that basically handles your yes/no questions. If there's something that the rule doesn't tell you how to resolve it, we go to the oracle, right? If you need your AI to make a choice and you don't want to make that choice for it, you want to throw a little wrench in the work, the AI's for that. It's about hitting obstacles, but then overcoming them and learning in the process. So I just wanted to kind of do this quick little video this morning telling you about the new game. I sent for the draft. I always, when I write a new rule set, I go to mix them and I have the rules printed up. This game is 217 pages so far. So this is like the meatiest game I've ever done, because I think Vigilante Justice was like 78 pages. And my Gladiator game from years and years ago that's up on Board Game Geek, that was like 23 pages. And this thing was just crazy. I did use a little AI, and I'm going to have some videos about how I use AI in my writing and in my game design. I don't really rely on it. I use it for things like, being my editor, because I'm not the greatest at spelling. So I use it for that. I use it for prototyping images, until I can get an artist or hire an artist, if the game's actually going to do something. There's a couple artists I used to work with that were phenomenal, and they were very inexpensive, but they ended up being in parts of the world that we were no longer allowed to do business with. So, I kind of quit working with some of those individuals. But so I use it for prototyping, and I use it kind of for helping me do quick charts. So, if I want a chart that has 100 different elements, well, then I'll use the AI. I'll say, this is the kind of chart, this is the kind of stuff I want in it, and I want 100 elements. It'll create that D100 chart for me. The problem is it's never perfect, right? They'll start out of that D100. You might have 65 that are actually unique and are decent. And so to me, I use it as that low-hanging fruit stuff, the stuff I don't want to spend a month working on a chart. So I'll use the AI to help me generate that, but the writing's all me, the game rules are all me, the mechanics are all me. Like I said, I use it primarily for just the window dressing and help me brainstorm, help me gather my thoughts together. A lot of times I'll say, I want this, I'm going to remember this for me, remember this for me, remember this for me. And then I'll say, hey, give me that list of the stuff I told you to remember, So that's the kind of stuff I do. I truthfully, I think for the most part, AI is pretty much crap at this point. It's going to get better. And it has gotten better in just the last 3 years. But it's not ready for prime time, right? You're not going to write your game. You can't even use it to write, code, really. At least, because I have a professional account on ChatGPT. And, I can give it some bad code and it might lean me down. But if I didn't know how to code, it wouldn't lead me down the correct path, right? A lot of times it'll say, change this, and then they're wrong, I've tried having it generate code for me in Python and stuff like that, and WordPress templates. And again, I had to go in there and basically, it was good for just creating, boom, here's, the structure, but I had to go in and still make it good, But then what it was really good at is, say I had over time, my cascading style sheets in JavaScript get insane, because of all the changes that I'm doing when I'm creating the different websites. Well, then I can feed my template in there and my cascading style sheets and say, tell me what parts of this style sheet I can get rid of that I'm not using anywhere. So that's the kind of stuff. It's good for the grunt work. But I did use it in this game. And, like I said, I'll start putting it up, playing it, maybe get feedback from you guys. Am I going to sell it? I don't know. I don't think so. If it seems like a game you might want to play too, let me know. I'll if I do sell it, I'm still going to give away quite a few copies. Like I said, this game I made for me. I made this game to keep my mind working and to be a fun diversion that's geared towards how I want to play, and that no other game company is actually satisfying. Okay? Yeah, maybe I'm rambling, I don't know. But I just want to say, hey, I just want to tell you what I've been working on, and I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.